Hello traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, January 2nd, 2023. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices, all of which closed modestly lower or flat for the week, with growth stocks mixed, energy leading last week, and most of our indicators either neutral or bearish, with 4 bullish to start the week. We have support at 37.65 at the put wall and 3800 above that. 3900 is resistance going into Tuesday trading. With the JPM Collar rolling a bit lower, with the 4065 level as resistance at that upper strike. We'll be looking for direction to start the week and for January OPEX to give us an idea of what to expect to start the year. With the JPM Collar short calls position at 40.65, we're looking at that as upper resistance for now, with the short 30.60 at the lower bound. That said, we are holding a 50% Fibonacci retracement. For 9 trading days, we're looking for a push higher and for RSI to move to the upside, with that March 40-60 call as the upper bound. In this descending pattern, with resistance just overhead at this large volume by price band, right along that large gamma resistance level at 3900. We'd like to see MACD complete this turn in the short term, and for stochastics to start moving higher into January OPEX, exactly 3 weeks away. With this in mind, I might take some of those puts down there near 36.30, especially on any bounce that we might see starting off this week. We did notice the Dow Composite held up fairly well last week as we start off January. We did have a hammer on Friday. If we do see a bounce this week, we're looking for resistance overhead for potential short-term trade back to resistance, with MACD turning and stochastics starting to drift a bit lower. The S&P Equal Weight Index also has a pretty decent setup. We held for 9 trading days. We're looking for a push higher, as the number of stocks trading above their 50-day has had a chance to pull back to the 50% zone. The same goes for the 200-day. Also pull back to the 50% zone as CCI starts to move higher. We just need to see these indicators turn up this week. And for these top 15 stocks on the left to catch a bid on Tuesday. Growth stocks and the NASDAQ 100 managed a flat close for the week, down less than 0.5%, near this October low. If we do get a bounce and a bid on Tuesday, we'll look for a retest of these overhead resistance levels, along with potential strength in IWM, which held for 2 weeks, a flat close each week. This week we're down 0.02%, while the longer-term moving averages continue their roll and fade lower. Starting off Tuesday, Wednesday, we do have breadth improving back down to the 0 line, but making higher highs and higher lows, with the NASDAQ McClellan oscillator still negative and trending lower. The black line is what I'm looking at. In addition to the New York Stock Exchange McClellan oscillator, which is also in a bearish trend, looking for that black line to turn and give us a trough, which would suggest that we could see an OPEX close at higher levels if we get an improvement in breadth over the next several weeks. For now, 12 of our indicators are neutral and 4 are bearish. Only 4 are green. All things considered, the one thing I am paying close attention to is yields. If the short-term yields start moving higher again this week, as they did last week, we'd expect the 10-year yield to impart some headwinds on the indices. So watch 10-year this week as we'll do during the live broadcast. But if this starts to move back up to the highs, which we are expecting, into the next Fed rate hike, then we could have some difficulty getting back above that 40.65 strike that the JPM Collar has as a short or resistance level. One of the caveats this week, of course, will be the US dollar and its continuous fade to lower levels, RSI below 50, imparting a bullish trend in Brent crude and gasoline, which have both been moving higher, with gasoline moving back above its 50-day moving average, headed for the 200-day. And with the US dollar moving lower, of course, we're seeing silver, copper, and gold all moving higher. We do have a position in silver and may do something this week with gold. As it continues its trend, it's pushing up against this resistance level at 1840, with all the moving averages pressuring price to higher levels to start the new year. With the same in copper, we're looking for a push and a squeeze through the 200-day over the next several weeks. That would be a bullish indicator for the economy. In addition to a potential follow-through in the bull-bear ratio, you can see this is turned, but it hasn't followed through yet, so we're looking for that in January and February. The sector heat map is still pretty much the same over the last 4 weeks, with a little improvement and strength shown in energy over the last week, while international indices haven't changed much either, with strength in Turkey persistent and China measurably higher into Friday. We also saw small cap biotechs, XBI, moving higher last week, in addition to oil and equipment services, XES, looking for that to follow through, along with energy. If you're looking for long setups this week, watch for strength. If many of these get back above their 21-day, like the financials and the industrials, that would be beneficial to the bulls. With strength also noted in communication sector, as Meta managed to close green on the week, gaining nearly 2%. Watch the sectors. We're seeing some strength in consumer discretionary and retail. Maybe we see a follow through to start the new year. The IBD 50 this week are set up. In most cases, we're looking for stochastics to be oversold and starting to turn, with price action at or just above support levels. Like we see here with ALGM, Allegro Microsystems, just above the 50-day, been consolidating for the last 10 trading days below the 21-day, looking for a bounce this week, with the company reporting January 26th. Last report was a beat, with revenue growing at 22.8%. Asbury Automotive is also set up. It had an earnings beat as well, with revenue growing at 60% on a year-over-year basis. Estimates were for a $9.19 per share. They came in at $9.23, with Asbury Automotive set to report earnings on January 26. Additional stocks in the semiconductor space that looked good last week was Broadcom, AVGO, looking for stochastics to turn up as a function of price, of course, but looking for a push higher in some of these semis to start the year. In addition to what we've been seeing in Catalyst Pharmaceuticals, we're looking for some of these pharma stocks to follow through this week as well. Looking for healthcare to catch a bid. And as we previously mentioned, we're looking for strength in financials and industrials. If we do see that, watch for Charles Schwab to continue on this breakout from last week. In addition to looking for strength in those retail stocks that were showing some signs of a turn, we still have overhead resistance at the 21-day, the 50, and the 200-day, but MACD and stochastics are both turning. So retail might catch a bid this week. If it does, we're looking for Crocs and Deckers Outdoor to continue higher. I know Ali was looking at Deckers on Friday and looking for a breakout above 400 this week. ExxonMobil and some of the big cap oil and gas names, we're looking for a follow through here. A break above 110, 111 this week would be bullish for energy, with ExxonMobil reporting at the end of the month. We're also watching for Flex, an inexpensive stock with stochastics oversold and getting ready to turn. They raised their guidance in the most recent report while showing revenue growth of 24.7% year over year. Earnings estimates were 41 cents per share. We did see a beat of 9 cents at 50 cents per share. Look for Flextronics and advanced design manufacturing and services to the original equipment manufacturers of electronic parts. We're looking for a follow through here as we look for the stock to catch a bid on Tuesday and Wednesday. Halliburton and Hess, we're watching for these two to follow through, although stochastics is overbought in most of these energy names after a strong showing over the last couple of weeks. That said, we're looking for a breakout. Technical looks good with stochastics overbought and hoping for the best this week. Mobileye is set up as well. It's been in a tight pattern for the last 3 weeks. Looking for price action to break above 36. The company most recent report was a beat of 2 cents, reporting again on March the 8th. Chinese stocks are also negotiating at the 200 period moving average. We're looking for a follow through here. If we do, we're also watching for Pinduoduo, Baba, and a few others to bounce. Stochastics is oversold but can stay down here for a while. Price is below the 21-day. So keep an eye on these Chinese stocks if you're trading any of them going into the new year, and we'll do the same. Last week we were looking for a breakout in Planet Fitness. We're still watching for that 80 level to get tested. We're also watching for some of these solar companies to catch a bid. SolarEdge looking for a turn and a bounce off the 50-day moving average and for volume to increase. We were also looking for Toro to break higher last week. Manufacturer of outdoor turf and landscape maintenance, snow and ice management equipment, underground utility construction, rentals, etc. Everything to do with the outdoors. The company did match estimates while revenue grew at 22% year over year. If we do see a follow through in retail, watch for Ulta to test this 480 level in the short term, looking pretty strong. With stochastic rising, we'd just like to see more volume, and we'd like to see retail following through on this higher low and retest these overhead moving averages into the new year. As we look for retail to pick up the pace a bit after a pretty dismal performance last year. Make sure you check out the stocks that are in the scans. AC/DC is a fracking company. Many of those stocks, like Halliburton, previously mentioned, NINE, from previous watch lists, continues this follow-through breakout on the daily time frame. We'll watch for these stocks like PBT, Permian Basin, Schlumberger, SLB, Vista Energy to follow through, along with ExxonMobil. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for January the 2nd, 2023. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, get outside, enjoy the rest of the day. It's beautiful here in Myrtle Beach. Enjoying the New Year holiday. Take care. We'll see you in the morning. Ciao.